it gets you out of your comfort zone, you know? So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
dude, it's good. How was your weekend, man? What'd you get up to?
It was nothing Saturdays. Sport was washed out and flew up here yesterday. Got here about lunchtime yesterday, which is good.
Are the fan
Beautiful
bam
place in the world.
up there with you?
No, just my partner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so little ones at Nan and Pops for the week.
Oh, do they enjoy that?
They do. They do. Yeah, and she loves it too. It's a second home. She's all set up there. So
That's awesome, mate.
it's the first time I've been away from her for longer than 36 hours at a time. But
You mean your daughter?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 4.5 years.
Wow. Dude, that's I had that same exact thing about when I was back in Australia. I've been there every single night with my daughter since she was born, because she was in intensive care for the first 2 weeks, and mum had to split apart from her, but I stayed just right with her bedside. And it was really weird. At like a year and a half, I had my first night away from her, and almost it was like, do you know what it was like, Steve? It was almost like, you know how on our Steps app you get on a streak.
Yep.
I was always like, I don't want to break the streak, you know. But I thought to myself, this is gonna be weird if I'm like 12 years old and I've never had a night away from my daughter, and it's just because I've got a streak. How good?
It's good.
All right, we got some boys in here. You got some fans, by the way, Barozzi. So Tez is in here. How are you, Tez? Good to see you, mate. And happy birthday, Tezza. I know you had a really good weekend by the looks of things, and plenty of whining and dining, so good on you, bro. Jimmy Norval, how are you, mate? Good to have you in here and getting inside with Steve. I love it. We've got Bobby Gordon here. Bobby's an absolute regular on the podcast episodes, and I dare say that that's part of the reason why Bobby's changes are happening, so well done. All right, Chris Lewis, the big dog, he's in here as per normal. How are you, Christopher? Good to see you in the house, pal. Nicky Friend, of course, is here. How are you, Nicky boy? How was your weekend, buddy? Hope you had a ripper. All right, Tez is tagging all the boys. Nicky Duggan, how are you, legend? Guys, we're going to kickstart this episode in 1 minute. If indeed you are watching in live, I would love you to say hi. Steve and I would love to know who we are talking to. It's always a little bit better when, obviously, we know who the crew is that we're speaking. We got Steve all the way from Hayman Island. What's the weather like up there today, brother?
Beautiful. It's, what is it? 20 to 7 in the morning, 6:30, and it's early in the low 20s.
Mate.
A little bit humid. Clear skies.
Much? Did you watch much footy on the weekend, bro?
Watched a little bit.
Who's your team?
The Raiders nearly. I'm a Raiders supporter by proxy after they kicked the Bears out, mate. We watched
I knew you were such a good guy, Steve. I knew we had a connection. Yeah, that's why.
We watched the Raiders nearly shit the bed and blow another lead. That was good.
Dude. Oh, mate, you've actually made my day, Steve. Like, I already thought you were a raving gentleman, so to hear that you're a Raiders fan, we are few and far between. Shout out to Russ Gilbert as well, who's also a Raiders fan. All right, Amy is in the house. Whoever this is, good morning. Yes, good morning to you. You need to click the Restream link. I think I put it in the description above, just so I can see who it is. And Matty Ball is in here. Brother, let's get started, I reckon. You ready?
Yeah, mate, let's go.
Let's do it. All right, guys, on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, we've got one of our young kings of the Academy, Mr. Steve Byron, joining us on the podcast to discuss Steve's journey. How are you, Stevie boy?
Morning, guys. I'm well. Good to be here.
Yeah, good. And we're going to get straight into the chat because naturally Steve's like not used to being in front of cameras and being on the spotlight. He's a super modest guy. So it's just after 6:30 in Queensland where Steve is, AM, and he's willing to kind of jump on and start his Monday morning in the right way. So thanks so much for coming on the pod, Stevie.
It's a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having us.
Beautiful. All right, so guys, If you are watching this podcast or you are listening on live or on replay and you still haven't given the podcast a rating, we are up to episode 112. I would really, really appreciate it. And I mean, like, listen, I'd really appreciate it if you can help me drive this podcast to new levels. These reviews do more than you would actually know. So, guys, I'm going to go back to the start in our chat with Steve first. So, Steve, let's rewind maybe 1 year ago. What was going on in your life, dude? Because the recent results which we're going to talk about are phenomenal. But could you describe where you're at, probably physically, and how that impacted you mentally?
Physically stuck, right? Not regularly exercising. Still playing a bit of baseball. Like competitive baseball, but definitely not playing to my potential. COVID hit. There was one season was fully cancelled, another one was partially cancelled. The world went crazy. Work got harder, and just got in a massive rut. Which I'm sure a lot of men and women could attest to.
Yeah, dude, it's that's a really good point. Got in a rut. So when we got a chance to catch up when I was back home, Steve, I was fascinated by how much your mentality had shifted in a short period of time. But it was almost like once you made the decision to join the academy, it shifted quickly. But you confided in me that for the previous sort of 15 to 20 years, it was like you'd been doing it tough. Not necessarily mentally the whole time, but wanting to do something, feeling a little bit stuck, but just kind of not having the courage, impetus, direction to actually make a start. Dude, like...
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where did it start kind of... Where do you think it started going wrong? So if you go back to, say, your 20s, where did it start going downhill for you?
Yeah, about mid-20s. I was previously married, got divorced, separated. Life got a little bit tougher there. Definitely stopped exercising and paying as much attention and respect to my body as I should have. Life got busy, like they say, and then you wake up and 10, 15 years has passed and you're like, wow, here we are.
Talk to us about your responsibility. Like, I think a lot of guys think that, these guys that join our academy that get these fantastic results, they've got a really easy life, though. They don't have many responsibilities. So tell us about, like, kids, work, and commuting. Like, because I understand that you don't have an endless amount of time, right?
No. So I got a partner and a 4.5-year-old daughter. We live on the Central Coast. I commute to Toongabbie, northwestern Sydney, 5 days a week. I'm a production supervisor of a pharmaceutical company, so I've got somewhere between 35 and 42 people that report directly into me. Oversee people, process on a pretty large scale. So days are long. Plus, you lose the best part of 3 hours a day commuting, which a lot of people do, right? But I can't do public transport, so I can't utilize that time for anything positive other than just getting to and from work. And
so when do you, if I can ask, when do you leave home? Like, what time do you get up and when do you leave home?
Before the BBA, I used to get up at 4:30 to be at work for a 6:30 start. When I joined the BBA, I started exercising in the afternoon after work, and I was just getting home too late. So now I get up at 3:30. I drive to work. I've got an on-site gym. I do my hour in the gym before work, and then I'm showered and at my desk ready to go before the shift come in. So I'm on top of everything, and get out 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and get home to the family for dinner and a bit of us time.
It reminds me very much of Terry's story, one of our other Better Body Academy members, and certainly a bit more of a kind of a guide inside the group, an inspiration in our group. So just to recap, you were getting up at 4:30 already, and I've no doubt that part of your, and a 2-hour commute to Sydney, and then you work your 8 to 9 hour day, which would finish at 4:30, then you'd commute the 2 hours home and get home at about 6:30. So you were basically between 4:30 and 6:30, you were occupied, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And did the no time, was that the biggest kind of, and I don't say excuse because I think, like, is it, I don't know if it's a cop out, but I don't like the idea of making it a negative thing because the reality is that's a fucking hard life. But did you find
It
yourself just
wasn't.
saying to yourself, like, I just don't have time?
That was the easiest way, Jace. That was the easiest thing to rest your hat on and say, I just don't have the time.
Mm,
And you touched on Terry, and Terry came up for a stomp early in my tenure in the BBA,
mm,
and like we were talking a little bit. You know, he's also a reasonably early starter, works some long hours, and that was the catalyst for me swapping to
mm,
morning workouts,
mm.
and it's gone on gangbusters since then. You know, like it's I can't do anything with my family at 3:30 in the morning. They're asleep. So why don't I go do something for me so that then we can do something together in the afternoon?
Do you know,
You know?
like, for the average guy, I want you to listen up to what he just said, okay? Now, I'm still, like, almost, like, trapped on that point of I leave at 4:30. So, but what Steve said was that a lot of us say we don't have time, so what we're not going to do is give away family time. So what Steve said is, I'm going to do it while my kids and family are asleep and not sacrifice any time. I mean, that is a super, like, insightful thing to say. Certainly difficult to follow through on. What was it like when you were
Yeah. Oh, look,
getting
and
up at, like, your alarm was getting up at 3:30, and like, how did you?
um, it it couple of tough days, but it got easier. And don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. There are nights when I'm completely gassed and
Mm,
fall asleep on the recliner at 6:30 or 7 o'clock, and I go to bed. But
mm,
no, for the most part, I'm home in enough time to cook dinner, prepare lunches for tomorrow,
mm,
go to soccer training, go to swimming lessons, take a bit of pressure off my partner, who also, she works full time,
mm.
and that was the best way to make it work. To selfishly give me what I want to do at the moment, and also not drop out any family commitments.
Okay, so to be able to follow through after being on the fence for 15 years with that level of conviction, um, you must you must have you must have either had a really big why, or you must have been driving away from some sort of pain. And so humans are. Let me pre-frame this by saying humans are driven by two forces. Okay, the most powerful for me is getting away from the pain that they're feeling. The other force is moving towards the pleasure that they want to feel. Pain and pleasure are two incredible drivers. So, what was that for you, dude? Like, have you actually ever thought about it? If you had have continued on where you were going, what pain would have come up for you that you were worried about?
Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? Look, it all started about 12 or 18 months ago, I think, when you slid into the DMs a few times. I definitely wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
You got me a second or third time where I was definitely on the cusp, and I thought, it's time to do something. That the biggest thing was, you see too many young men dying and not being there for their families,
Mm,
and the first originally was I wanted to do it to be more active and present for my daughter and my partner, and then um, the day that I signed my application, went to bed, woke up, and I think it was the Saturday morning. I had to go into work to do some stuff, and the first thing I read was Shane Warne passed away. It was that
yeah.
weekend, and that was also like, wow, that made it so much more real. 50, like the live the hardest life of any professional sportsman we've seen for a while at
Mm,
52,
mm,
right? And
mm.
that was a real good Kickstarter. You
And I think because
know,
you, being a sports lover, you would have, like, he would have been one of your idols, right? You were really related to him as a man.
mate, there wasn't a fat kid in the '90s not bowling leg spin in the nets, man. You go down for cricket training, and it was just 20 kids trying to bowl leg spin.
Yeah.
He was something different. Yeah.
Dude, super proud of you. When you got started, what were the first few changes that you made? Because what I see is a man that that's kept it simple, has been disciplined, but kept it fairly simple. So you mentioned that you got into the gym. What other kind of
Yep.
two or three changes did you make that you think have helped you to get where you are now?
Look, it really resonated. Um, you've come to me you're selling me a product, right? And you invest in the process, trust the process, get involved in the group, follow the plan, it works.
Mm.
Like, you're telling me that, and I was 75% hooked. But then I introduced myself to the group. I had 40, 50 blokes jump on, bang, and it was verbatim. Trust the process. I think Barney was the first one. Trent, he was one of the first ones. Trust the process. The results will come. And it was almost instantaneous. Like, I didn't hit the gym. I didn't start lifting or doing anything serious in the gym for about 2 weeks because I was sluggish and out of that kind of frame of mind. I did the
Mm.
home body workout for about 2 weeks, and then I hit you up and said, just make me a program. It's time to start. But I still follow the meal program today.
Mm-hmm.
My family ate the same food. It's simple. It's good food. It fills you up, and it just works,
Mm.
right? But you just got to stay prepared, right? You do your shopping, stay a day in front. Take tomorrow's dinner out tonight, and you take today's lunch out yesterday. It's not easy,
Mm.
especially when you're a working family and stuff like that. But
Mm.
I'm pretty fortunate. I got a supportive family, and they've backed me 100% through this
Dude, that's
journey.
what did when you said to your missus that you're going to do this? I'm interested in what her response was.
Um, it was just supportive. Okay, yeah, and then we went through, and she actually did the first shop, and we had a Barney because she missed a couple of things. I was like, you got to have this. I've got to have this on this day and this day, and but it's been good, right?
Mm.
It's changed a lot of things around home. I do most of the cooking, most of the shopping. It gives her more time back to do the things that she wants to do with our daughter. It's been a good journey. I've gained out of it, and she's listening in the other room there. But I think it's worked for her as well.
Dude, that's great because I think, Tez says we all need a rock like a partner. And I think that's absolutely true because sometimes our partner won't be supportive and we think that the reason is because they want to sabotage us or something like that and it causes a problem. But oftentimes when our partner isn't supportive, it's because some part of them doesn't want to feel left behind because they're not at the point where they're ready to kind of move their life forward. And that's not a criticism. It's just an observation that people are ready for their transformation and it takes different time. So to be able to kind of
Absolutely, yeah.
have that period of time where your missus didn't say to you, you're not going to follow through on it, Steve, or look, we can't spend the money, Steve, and she supported you on that, dude. I think that's really important to both get on the same page, mate. In terms of your results, can you talk to us through where you started weight wise and where you are now?
Yeah, I was a tick over. I was 121.4 for my initial weigh in with a waist circumference of 130.
Okay.
I look back on my initial first photo, and you put the new ones next to it. Like that bloke wasn't happy, right? He was existing. He had a full life. Don't get me wrong. I
Yes.
didn't have a bad life. I was fortunate. I have a good job. I have a good family. All that kind of stuff. But there was a little part of that bloke that just wasn't happy, and you can see it in that photo.
Mm.
Now I think it's 10 weeks. About 10 weeks in, I'm down to as agonizingly close. I was thinking about sticking my toothbrush down my throat. I was 100.3. I was like, if I go into a big poo and then purge, I might get there. Right, but I'll get there. I'll get there next week.
So where are
The
you at
week
now? Sorry,
after.
I touch it.
100.3 was my
Hundred
last
point
weigh-in.
three. Okay, yeah, and we don't
Yeah,
get worried about points because that's just flow of body parts and stuff like
yeah,
that. Um,
absolutely.
like you said, a big fart, mate, you'll blow out that last point three.
Yeah,
So over
yeah.
20 kilograms in 10 weeks. Is that? Did you think that was possible for you, bro, or were you just worried that you were going to be stuck with the weight?
Um, I did think it was possible. Once again, probably about 75%
Mm,
convinced because the messages that we shared back and forth
mm,
before, you like, just let's go. Are you ready? If you're ready to rip the scab off, I'll get
mm,
you those 25 kilos that you want to lose, and it'll
mm.
happen quick. trust me, follow the process, engage with the group,
Mm-hmm.
and when push comes to shove and I knuckle down, I can make good things happen.
Mm.
So I knew that if I set free my fear and inhibitions and just jumped in and took it balls deep, so to speak, that good things would happen.
Dude,
Because you go from almost doing nothing to putting in, right?
yeah,
Something's going to happen.
yeah. What an amazing way to put it. So, when people have seen you either at work, I remember that you mentioned that you kind of got, and I want to don't go into the deep details if you can't because of your own privacy, but I remember you thought that you were getting called into, you did something wrong. And actually the bosses were like, fuck, like what's gotten into you? Like you're energetic and you're feeling
Yeah,
good. Tell us about that, dude.
yeah. It's just a question. One boss like, just let's just have a quick chat. Blah blah blah. Yep, righto. So what's changed? Something's changed. You're sharper. You know, not necessarily making better decisions, but just you're less reactive.
Mm.
Yeah, you're taking the deviations a lot easier, a lot more in your stride. And just explain the situation. And like my boss has been one of my biggest supporters, which has been great.
Mm.
My partner has been my biggest supporter, but yeah, like people, the ones that you see every day are really starting to notice now.
Mm.
So I had to get a couple of new shirts and new some new clothes and stuff like that, and they're like, oh wow,
Mm. What
yeah.
does
And
it
then you
feel
also
like?
get a
Sorry to
oh,
cut
it's
you off.
terrific, right?
Mm.
So yeah, just and you also get a couple of naysayers like, oh, so what are you taking? What are you taking to do this here on Duromine or something like that? No, mate, I'm just taking a shitload of whole foods and a lot of exercise.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's great, right? I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it for anyone in my life to ratify and vindicate my decisions. I'm doing it for myself and my family.
Mm.
And when friends or family or colleagues say, "Oh wow, look at you," yeah, that's fantastic. It makes you go a little bit harder the next day
Mm.
as
Dude,
well.
so good. What gives you confidence that this is just not a period of which the weight comes off? What gives you confidence that you can maintain it?
There's a few things, right? You've changed habits. I used to eat a shitload of bread and pasta and could live on toasted sandwiches, and now I haven't had bread since I started this.
Mm.
I haven't had white pasta since I started this, and I don't miss it. I
Mm.
really don't. I I'm confident now that I can make the right decisions around food and won't fall back into that quick and easy trap.
Mm.
And just the group, the support, the love and support you get off this, like, obviously only involved in the men's group, but
Mm.
it's just 150, 160 blokes on the same page, heading towards a similar goals,
Mm.
all at different stages of their journey. But it doesn't matter what you're going through. There's always someone there. Like, there's an absolute no dickhead policy. I've not met one person in this group virtually or in person that you wouldn't go and have a beer with,
Mm.
and will do for the rest of your lives, right? Like, we're in different continents, and there's people that if you're in ever where I am, hook me up and we'll go and have a meal. Like, it's a terrific community, and that it's like a safety blanket, I guess. You feel safe and secure within that group now.
Dude,
I was very nervous when I started, like
Mm.
putting up a post and telling I'm 40 years old. 40-year-old men don't talk about their feelings or what they're doing or
Mm.
anything like that.
Mm.
We just go and fix problems, right?
Mm.
There's a problem. I just go and fix it. I don't talk about it.
Mm.
Um,
Oh,
yeah. So
guys, if
that's
you're
yeah.
listening to this podcast, like, you got to be inspired by this shit. This is a podcast that I'm going to kind of tag or flag in my list that I'm going to send people when they're kind of like, oh, I don't know if it will work for me, because this is the proof, right? Stevie has kept it simple. He's worked hard. He's got out of his comfort zones and he's ran towards the fear and embraced the fear. Most importantly, you've got involved, Steve. And I think that that's really important, because the moment you try to do it by yourself, the further you get away, it's almost like a boat that's anchor is slowly coming away from the sand or the reef, and you're slowly pulling out. And before you know it, you've floated 10 years down the channel and you've put on all this weight. It's like, and it's because you try to do it yourself. So I'm
absolutely.
so bloody proud of the way that you've conducted yourself. Steve, I might just ask a final question. What would you say to the fella, or for that matter, the woman in the women's group, that is kind of, they've joined, they're new in their journey, but they're still on the fence a little bit. So they're committed financially, but they're not necessarily all in. Like, what would you say to that guy or girl to try to get them to trust it?
Just take a minute, just step back, breathe, read through the plan again, and just give yourself, say, what's 10 weeks to you, right? What's 10 weeks in your life? You have whatever, however old you are, you've 75, 50% made this commitment. Give it 10 weeks, follow the plan, and just engage in the group, right? The more you give the group, the more they give you back. You know, like we've got our little pods, and there's 5, 6, 10 blokes in each pod, and you just bounce, and that energy is infectious, man. Like we're halfway through the 6-week sprint, there's big energy in our group at the moment.
So good.
Just trust the process.
Dude, I love that.
Lean on your mates, right? They'll, and one bad day doesn't define your week or doesn't define your month or whatever.
Mate.
And like I love those vulnerability posts where people have, through no fault of their own, have had to deviate and eat something shit, and they just jump on and they call themselves out, and they're like, bang, next morning you see them, they're back on the horse, they're at the gym, eating well.
Boom, that's what it's all about. And that's why everything that we do tries to set people up to be able to do this themselves. If the plan that you're on, whether it be inside Better Body Academy or external to it, if the plan that you're on requires you to be completely and utterly attached to some restrictive, you must do this, you can't do this, you must do this, you can't do this, it's never going to last. It's never going to last. We need to be taught how to live a healthy life, which involves some indulgence. Have you had a couple of beer sessions during the loss of this kind of 20 kilos or what?
Not yet. Not yet. I'll have a couple. The couple of nights I'll sit back and have a few beers whilst I'm up here on holidays. But no, I haven't. There's been no sessions, and I committed to it. I wanted to see the full 16 weeks out without anything. But I've earned it. I've earned the right to take some withdrawals, and just because I might have a couple of beers after dinner tonight doesn't mean I won't go back in the gym tomorrow.
100%. And that's the way to think about it, Steve. It's got to fit into your lifestyle, not be, hey, I'm Steve Byron, and this is this guy on the side that just does these healthy things. Once you amalgamate health and fitness into your lifestyle and you become a healthy man that sometimes has some indulgences, that's the guy who's going to win. So, brother, mate, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast as we bring this one to a close. Bro, like literally, when we have clients like you, Steve, I would put you in the kind of echelon of the dream client. I call this a door A client. A client that says, Coach, tell me what to do and I'll do exactly what you tell me. And they always get the results. And bro, that's exactly what you've done. So thank you for being a fantastic client. Thanks for coming on the podcast, mate, and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
No, dude, I love it.
Thank you for having me, guys. And thank you to everyone out there that's supported me through my journey. There's some friendships and bonds that have been made that will never be broken. You guys are awesome.
What a guy. Someone that leads with love is always my favorite type of guy. Guys, this has been Mr. Steve Byron talking about his journey on the Better Body Academy podcast. It's the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs. I will ask you again to please leave us a 5-star review. Steve, I want you to get off this podcast and review your own podcast that you just appeared on. Just go across to the Apple site, scroll to the bottom of the episodes and just go 5 stars and then talk about whatever it is that you think's worthy. Guys, I will see you in the next episode.